Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And it's been a bit since I did the last video, which I think was on the TAPP Airsoft stuff. So I just wanted to wait. I spoke to TAPP. They said, yeah, those components on the top of the AAP hybrid lower should have been there. You know, they did sort of get it out to me really quick. So they said, not to worry, we're going to ship the feed lips, the gas router, and the screws. And to be honest with you, it got to me within like I want to say like 3 or 4 days, which is quite good from the US. So I've put them on there now, which we'll get to in just a moment, and that's all sorted. So this is a hybrid lower for the Action Army AAP-01 pistol. They sent me a bunch of these hybrid lowers. So we've got one for the AAP, one for the MP9, and one for the GHK G5. I'm still trying to source a GHK G5, and many of you did offer your own GHK G5s up for grabs, and that's great. The only thing I'll say is the only reason why it's taken me a bit longer per se to get a GHK G5, I just want an unmolested example out the box. So I think I'm just going to have to buy a new one. You see a load of these ads online where you go and you pick them and they've got this part changed and that part changed. I just want a bog standard G5 to start with. So in this bag from TAPP Airsoft, you'll get the lower like this. So you should have the feed lips, a gas router, and everything else all pre-assembled apart from your trigger pack and everything else, which we're going to put in there. So it should look like that in the top with the valve there. You know, you've got your red feed tube there, you got your burst disc fitted, you've got a HPA connector, which, you know, I've bought some really expensive conversion kits and they don't always come. In fact, more often than not, they don't come with a fitting. So it's fitted out the box. You've just got to put your trigger pack in there and you're good to go. So we'll put these spare parts because we also want to test if we need this, which is the mag release for it says PTS, so I imagine PTS mags. So we'll keep that to one side for a second because I do have a PTS mag. I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything in order before I make the video. So it's an AAP-01 lower that's HPA fed. You use ARP-9 magazines. Now I don't have like a standard G&G ARP-9 magazine. I do have the quad stack because I bought one, which you'll see I've cut a little window here for the God, what's I call it, sub 5. So this is a quad stack. These are like I think what they're like 170 rounds. So you'll put it in the bottom there with the long ARP-9 mags. Of course, they're going to look a little bit daft because, you know, all this is replaced with, you know, a HPA conversion. You can get these quad stack mags from G&G where they're like half the size, but they're still quad stack, so they hold a bunch of BBs. That's probably the route I would go down because it would be just like a slightly extended mag there. So I think I'm going to have to get a bunch of them. But, you know, if you're not bothered about that, I mean, let's face it, if you're running this lower on your AAP-01, you're probably running it as a primary in CQB, maybe doing Speedsoft. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You run your gun the way that you want to run it. And if you're running it as a primary, having a mag stick out like that isn't going to bother you at all. So one thing I will say is with the PTS mag, it does go in. So there's a slight bit of movement there. So I imagine that's what the other mag release is for. So to get this fitted today, it's kind of perfect because I found this box next to my desk, which I don't know exactly why it's there, because from what I can gather, it's pretty much all there. I mean, what am I missing? Some screws maybe. So this is kind of perfect. I've got an unmolested brand new lower grip, and then whatever's going on here. I think maybe what happened is I bought this to basically rob it for parts for like a HPA conversion of some kind. So there's a bolt and everything there. It's just missing the oh, it's already in there, so that could go in there. It's just missing the screws. In fact, they're probably there. So this is probably a complete AAP-01. So why don't we just fit it together? Do I have everything here? Again, the amount of loose replicas I have, it's just ridiculous. So I always find stuff that I just had no idea that I had. So we'll quickly put this together because we're going to need something to test it with. Now we can test all the fancy AAP-01 stuff that I've got. However, I don't think that would be a fair baseline, because let's say, you know, I like to try and cover all bases, but let's say you buy one of these because you're literally buying an AAP-01 to build it round the hybrid lower. So you buy a Bogo standard AAP-01, it's going to look like this out of the box. It's not going to look like some of the fancy stuff that you've seen on the channel. And we'll just quickly, this just shows you how quick and easy it is to work on these pistols. They're very inexpensive for what they are. To be honest with you, if you just wanted to buy a high-performing, cheap gas blowback airsoft gun, I don't think you can honestly beat this pistol, in my personal opinion. It's cheap. They hop really good out the box. They hop, I mean, I've hopped up to like 4.5s, maybe even 4.8s with this stuff out the box. And yeah, you can make it better, of course. You're literally, with the AAP-01, you're literally just buying the baseline gun, and then you're probably going to swap and change everything anyway. Have I done something wrong there? I'm pretty sure that should come back further than that. I don't think I've got anything fancy fitted to this bolt. I think it was just a... Yeah, so what's happened is, this is quite common on these AAP-01s. You get the little T-nut slots that come loose. I think this is probably... this is probably why it's in the box. And I think I fitted this into a 3D printed kit and then it messed up. Yeah, so the T-nuts are a bit of a pain. So we're going to have to fit this in and try and do it in a way where we don't spin that T-nut round. So this is why this pistol, I think, I put to one side. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to deal with that another day. So hopefully we can... quickly put this together. I know you're here to see the TAPP lower, and I know I'm waffling, but there we go. So Bogo standard AAP-01 without the mag, of course. There it is as it comes out the box. So what you're going to do, it took us a while to get here, but you know, if you're watching my videos, you've probably got a bit of spare time to yourself anyway. So you've got your lower. You take your new or maybe used lower off your AAP-01 pistol, and we basically just need to strip this down. We don't need the mag release. We need the trigger and components here. We need the hammer section here. So just trying to remind myself which way the pins tap out, but we'll find out soon enough. So let's grab a hammer and we'll just give these pins a tap. I think it's that way. Yes, we're on the right track here. I always forget which way they poke out. So we can pull out our hammer section here after removing those two pins. So I'm just pulling the trigger, as you see here, just to push the trigger bar a certain way, enables it to pull it out a little bit better. We're going to take out the rear button for the AAP and the spring that goes with it. And then we need to pull out all this front section here. So usually you can press these out by hand like that, just by pushing it. Again, left to right if you're looking down the lower like that. We need to pop out the safety, so we just push that to one side, and then we're just going to get a tool. It could be anything, it doesn't need to be anything specific. And we just push that latch like that, and that will enable us to pull it out like so. You've got more screws on the front of the pistol here, so using a 2mm Allen key, you're going to remove the ones on the sides. These ones you will be using on your TAPP lower, and then you have one in the center here. Now, if you're familiar with AAP-01 pistols and you've ever bought anything from CTM, you know, especially their polymer lowers, you'll know that if you ever try to fit a screw in this center slot, it just never goes right. You can watch my previous content to get a bit of context on that, but there we have it. Push that. We can pull this out. If you're very careful, what you can actually do is, as we pull it, if you hold all the springs and everything in place like that, you're not going to have to mess about trying to line everything up. We can just go from one into the other. Look how simple that was. So we're just basically holding that spring in. We're holding the bolt release or the slide release spring in place as well. We're going to take our 2 screws for the sides here, and we're going to fit those back in. The center screw here doesn't go anywhere. They haven't bothered with it, and to be honest with you, I don't blame them, because it's kind of pointless. With you've got the 2 screws in the front, you've got the main center pin, the main trigger pin that is, which is this big bad boy here. Going to whack that in from right to left. I'm a sucker, probably got a little bit of OCD, so I always like to try and put things back in the same way, even though we're putting it on to a brand new lower. And we just tap that home there, and there we go. You can also put in your safety, so we're just going to reverse what we did. Push this in and over, making sure it slots in, and there we go. So when that's on safe, it should block your trigger. When it's not, you should be able to pull your trigger. And again, we'll put the spring from the button that goes on the back here like so. I'm just going to hold, and you have to be careful because these springs with the knocker valve reset tabs, or what we want to call them, they've been called so many different things. You know the part. So this little piece here, which has a spring, you just have to be careful that doesn't go shooting off. You don't want to lose it. And then I'm just pulling the trigger, as you can see here. It raises the trigger bar up. I'm going to slide that into place with the hammer assembly, if I can do this. Like that. And then we're just going to slot it down. As we get it so far, we're going to push the rear button in, and that enables us to push it all the way home. You've got 2 pins. If you forgot when you remove them, you've got one with a sort of relief cut where it gets thinner in the middle. That goes at the top back section here, so behind the hammer. So you push that in. I was able to push it in with my fingers. The one that's like a normal style pin goes below the hammer. There we go. This is going to go in here. I think it might just be a little bit tight, so let's give it a tap. Then we're going to get our punch like that. Make sure it's nice and flush, which it is. And there you go. So you can test everything now. So when you test the AAP-01s, push the hammer, reset all the sears, pull the trigger, hold the trigger down, push the hammer, reset the trigger bar, reset the auto sear, and just test it again. So there we go, all tested. So that's the screw that we didn't need. That's a spare for you, or sell it on the forums, you know, it doesn't really matter at all. And then you basically just take your upper and it slots on like the standard pistol, and there we go. Now, some people have said in the previous video that they have changed this grip. They've you know, sort of updated it for the later releases. Now, certain people did say that the sort of the angles and stuff were a bit uncomfortable, but for me, if this is an updated lower, I find it extremely comfortable. There's plenty of relief on the trigger guard. I kind of like this funky design they've got. It's, you know, they're not doing the same old boring humdrum thing here. I do have a bunch of these pistols. You've got the CTM one we did, which has got a little bit of a different one. But you can see how that's drastically different now, which is going to be great. You've got a lot more space here, what it feels like. I mean, this one is a bit better than the standard one. So if you're wearing gloves or something, it's going to be a bit of extra space there. But, you know, fitting your upgrade parts, so if you want to fit a steel hammer, or your hammer assembly parts, you want to fit a fancy trigger, it's all the same. You don't need to worry. It will just go in like your standard AAP-01 lower. So let's get this in here. and get to the important bits. So we need to find a HPA tank, that is. Got one here that I prepared earlier. Let's screw this in. I think it said, what did it say? Don't exceed recommended pressure 100 to 120. So we're gonna keep it at about 100, so it's just above here, so it's about 105. I've just relieved the screw a little bit, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to basically holding that back. You'll see it fired there because I didn't cock the gun before I inserted it. I'm just bleeding off a little bit of pressure, and what that does, it gives me an accurate value because you'll have pressure stored in the line. So I've just turned the regulator down a bit. I've just bleeded off a bit of pressure, and now we bang on 100 psi. And yeah, before I got ahead of myself, whenever you're doing HPA, AAP-01s, now you'll have seen this previously when I did my Infinite kit, you always need to make sure that you've racked the pistol before you install your airline, because that hammers down, your valve's open, so it's going to fire if you don't do that. So rack the slide, put your airline on, and there we go. So I can't actually remember where this is set to, so it's set to semi at the moment. So we've got all this installed. Feels really good actually. Pressure seems stable. Now you don't actually need a sort of like a bolt release on this pistol anymore, because you haven't got the empty mag cut off like you have with a gas mag. But it's good to keep it on. You could take it off, but I recommend keeping it on there. If you need to change your hop, you know, you can lock it to the rear. If you need to change your fire selector, you can lock it to the rear. And here we go. So it's 100 psi, bog standard AAP-01. Nice violent recoil action there. Actually, it feels like it kicks harder than my Infinite kit. Let's try the Infinite kit at the same pressure. So this is short stroked, so it's not really a fair test. You see how, like, it's fast, but you know, this a lot stronger blowback action, but that isn't detriment to, like, you know, this isn't because of the hybrid lower. It's probably because what's going on in here. This has got loads of aftermarket parts installed. I know I'm throwing a spanner in the works there, but just wanted to show you what you can do. Just by fitting a short stroke kit, you can up your rate of fire. So what we're going to do, I have my little Vanguard here. Let's pop this open. Now I've got some BBs in there. These are 0.3s. Let's turn this sucker on. Got our G&G quad stack mag, which is 170 rounds, I believe. So we can load this bad boy up. Let's choose one of the presets. Remember to hold it and not press it, otherwise it will start feeding. We're going to whack this up to 170. Absolute godsend, this piece of technology is. So there we go. Quad stack G&G mag. We insert it in. We can rack it back and lock it, so we can lock it to change it back to semi. You've got the BBs there ready to go. So when we drop it, I'm just going to put a little bit of hop on, because these AAPs, if you don't have a bit of hop on, the BB just right at the barrel. So we're unloaded at the moment. Drop that home. You'll see it fell out the barrel there. Let's add a little bit more hop. I might be turning the hop off, to be honest. There we go. So at 100 psi on a bog standard AAP-01, this is all standard stuff. 0.3 gram BBs. So consistent, and we bang on 100 psi with a 0.3. We are bang on 1 joule. Just like a gnat's hair above it, but we're good to go. And let's lock it back. We're going to switch to full auto. We've got plenty of juice in the tank. Yep, we are getting a bit low. So let's see how this feeds. We are still at 100 psi. And there was a couple of rounds in there which had a hiccup. But apart from that, it fed beautifully. So the mag is... Oh, the mag's actually jammed, which is strange. This is a brand new mag. Oh dear. It's always going to be something, isn't it? So let's get rid of those BBs. So we'll just give this a tap. Try and release these stuck BBs. In fact, no, what am I doing? I'm being a complete idiot. It's a quad stack mag, isn't it? So with the quad stacks, I have to remind myself, they don't feed every round because you've got like a, you've got a channel here. So that's always going to retain that amount of BBs. Don't listen to that bit. I'm just being an idiot. What we're going to do, I can't remember how many rounds these PTS mags hold. I always forget. We're going to try this with the standard mag release. I'm just going to put, we'll just do 120 because I can't remember. But you can see on full auto how long that took to empty. If you're shooting semi only, you are literally laughing. Now you've got to remember when this is empty, you'll see we've still got rounds in there. So what do? Well, there's a little button just there. You basically push this and it will drop the rounds. But because we're going to be inserting a new magazine, we don't want to lose that buffer space that's held there. And when you come into a safe zone, let's say you're at a game though, you just have your gun, you take your mag out, put a couple of shots, aim towards the floor, press that little button, it will drop the BBs out, make sure it's clear, and then you can go into the safe zone. So this is on the standard mag release that comes with it, but I have got a PTS mag, so we'll see if it feeds. Which it does, but not the best. So what I'm going to try and do is we will remove this. Let's take the airline off. So we can remove this screw. The PTS mags are a lot easier to get. These G&G mags, not only are they difficult to get because usually, you know, the normal shops, especially for me in the UK, always out of stock, or they're so vastly expensive. These go for like £40 to £45, and it's ridiculous. The only reason I think I'd go for the quad stack mags is so that I could have the short mags and just run a bunch of them, because I just want to limit how much that magazine sticks out the bottom of the gun. It's going to limit your manoeuvrability with the pistol. So we've removed that most of the way. We can pull this out. So this is just the standard one. We go into our bag, and this part comes included with your hybrid lower. Got a little cutout for the spring to sit on there. And we can actually, I'm going to fumble this while I'm trying to record it. So that just sits in a little slot there. I'm just going to hold it like that because then it's gravity held. We take our mag release, we place that on the spring. Try and make sure this is lined up. So screw this in. I think that's got it. Wind this all the way in. Don't worry, it's not too long to hit your airline. So it will stop before the screw hits the airline. It stops just here. So now that's got the PTS mag release on it. So this should hold the mag up a little bit higher, I believe. Yeah, so there's no wobble anymore. And feeds flawlessly. We could just press the bolt release up as we fire. That'll lock the slide to the rear. Pop this selector on. I always struggle with the AAP-01 to call it a bolt or a slide. To me, this is a bolt, not a slide. But some people get angry on the internet, so we're going to rip on full auto now. So here we go. PTS mag. I would honestly say that the PTS mag fed better than the G&G mag. There was hardly any chop in there whatsoever. What I will say is the standard mag release does have a chip in it, so it's got a little bit broken off the corner. It didn't really seem to make a difference, to be honest. This part is just holding the spring. It's the latch here which holds the mag. So getting spares from TAPP is going to be pretty straightforward anyway. If you need them or if you have a problem, they'll look after you. PTS EPM9, I think this is called, or EPM AR9 mag, fed much better. I need to get some short mag style mags of these to give them a go. I think they're gonna sit a lot better if they, you know, obviously won't be able to install this because I've swatched the mag releases over. But when we're done shooting, I just line my finger up on that release, press it in, rounds drop out the bottom, and if you want to check it's safe, you can literally just look down the channel. You can see daylight, you're good to go. So to be honest, and this is coming from someone, yes, these hybrid lowers are expensive, but to put that into perspective for you, this kit is my Infinite kit now. I love this. I've never fielded this gun. It's just one of those super fun builds I did. This Infinite kit is kind of the same concept. I bought this a long time ago now. It's the same concept as the hybrid lower, but what they're doing is they're basically producing it in a way where you can just shove AEG mags in, which is fine. They're readily available on the shelf. You can get them from most airsoft stores. The EPM mags, you know, relatively inexpensive. You can just use G&G ARP-9 mags, which are even cheaper. The Infinite kit, however, I think it was about €400-500 for the kit. And you're spending that on the kit, and then the mags, which are proprietary. Now, they do have a cool feature where they still lock back on empty, because this is basically a GBB mag without the gas chamber. These mags are ridiculously expensive. What they did now with the Infinite kit, I mean, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent here, but they have released the files, so you can go in and get them printed yourself, and it does make it more affordable because they do like 50 rounds and stuff, which I'll do in a future video. So this is ridiculously expensive, and you've got to use proprietary mags, and the magazines aren't always in stock, and the magazines are super expensive. You're spending just as much as a gas blowback mag for something like this, but this is a very unique, cool thing. I like it. Now, the hybrid, I don't think the hybrid is as expensive as the Infinite kit. I'm pretty sure it's cheaper, but you're getting the same type of fitment, so you're getting, you know, a good gas blowback action, but you can feed it with AEG mags. What that gives you, it gives you a lot more ammo. These mags are easy to find at your local airsoft stores. I will need to play around with some different mags. Maybe I'll get some standard ARP-9 mags. Like I say, I do want to get the short version of this because I just think it would fit a lot better being just that long instead of this long. So we'll have to see about that. And if you're running something like this as a primary, honestly, this coming from me, I spend a lot on airsoft. I'm in quite a, you know, what do you call it, a good position. I have a lot of disposable income. Don't get me wrong, I work hard for my money, but I spend a lot of stuff on airsoft. And to be honest with you, this kit isn't as expensive as you probably might think. Now, I have a background in manufacturing stuff because I make my own parts, and this isn't as simple as you guys think it is to make. Not only the design and the R&D, but producing stuff in the way, this is either SLS or MJF printed, or you know, one of those processes. Getting something made of this certain size is expensive. So, you know, if it's out your price range, that's fair enough. But I think if you want to run something like this, you're probably more than comfortable with the price. Now, I am going to have a bunch of fun with this. We also need to be honest with you, I've been looking for a reason. Oh, saying that, it's in bits. I have another upper, which looks like I've robbed the bits out of it for something else. So I've got this race gun upper, which I need to, it's got the bolt there, but it hasn't got the barrel and the hopper, so I need to find out what I've done with that. And I think this would be a very cool build for this. Now, I would need to perhaps paint it or change the colour, but, you know, the beauty about this kit is, as well as the Infinite kit, I go, right, I want to use my hybrid lower, but I want to use the Mini Mamba upper with it. I literally just pop it off that pistol, put it on this pistol, and to be honest, let's give this a go, because this upper is heavily upgraded. Now we've got the hybrid lower on my Mini Mamba upper, which is insanely short stroked. It's just absolutely crazy. And just to give you an inkling, all I'm changing is the uppers here, and you'll see the difference in the rate of fire here. You know, that is your base. You can mess around all you want with that. Chop and change your uppers. I don't think there's a better Lego gun than the AAP-01, in my opinion. So it took me a little bit of extra time getting this video out to you guys, so I hope you appreciate it. Hope you don't mind the long form video. I just like to try and cover all my bases, and I enjoy talking about airsoft. So if you don't like that, that's fair enough. You know, you don't want to check out my future videos, I won't hold it against you. I'm very passionate about airsoft, and I think if you can't get on a camera and talk about it passionately when you have a passion for it, there's no point putting the camera on in the beginning. So I hope you like this lower. I do kind of like the styling. It is comfy. This is brought to you by TAPP Airsoft in the US. It's available right now on their store. They sent this review sample to me free of charge. There's no bias. There's nothing stating that I have to say this or that about it. I'm literally just plugging it in, shooting it, and showing you guys what it's like. I will now, of course, have this to go and play with, and perhaps we'll do, you know, an updated review further down the line when this has got a bunch of rounds through it. But honestly, I think upper parts will break before the lower does. And there you have it, the hybrid AAP-01 lower for the Action Army AAP-01 from TAPP Airsoft. So thanks for tuning into this video. Hopefully I haven't bored you too much. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments below, especially what you think of this. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in the next one.